All right, shalawam. First off, I want to say all praises to Yahawah, bahasham Yahawashi, bahasham Kodash. Double honors to our apostles, the elders of GMS, to the elect doing work in sincerity and in true shalawam. There's GMS precepts, and there's our card here. And I got a few articles here concerning the economy, which is in shambles. The economy is doing bad. This is something starting with our apostles at GMS we prophesied about for years, and it's finally coming to pass, man. The economy is steadily on a downward spiral, right? And here's a proof, right? It says this is from Bloomberg or BNN Bloomberg.com. It says U.S. consumer sentiment slumps to record low on inflation woes. So the big news now, matter of fact, the stock market just dropped, right? The Dow dives 800 points. This is as of what, Thursday? Dow dives 800 points. S&P posts worst week since January after inflation hits a 40-year high. So the big news of the day or this whole week or as far as recently is a high inflation. Inflation is just continuing to grow to record numbers, right? Consumer sentiment plunged in early June to the lowest on record as soaring inflation continued to batter household finances. So, consumer sentiment is basically consumer spending, how much people spend money, and it's plunged. It says here the University of Michigan's preliminary June sentiment index fell to 50.2 from 50.84 in May. Data released Friday showed the figure was weaker than all estimates in a Bloomberg survey and economists, which had a medium forecast of 58.1. So they were thinking it's going to go to. So if you notice all these articles, they always say it fell lower than their estimates. They always estimate it to fall, but not as much as it has, right? It went from 50.4. They were expecting it to go to 50.1, but it dropped all the way down to 50.2. Inflation expectations, which the Fed watches closely, also moved higher earlier this month, and early this month, and 46% of respondents attributed their negative views to persistent price pressures. Just 13% expect their incomes to rise more than inflation, the lowest share in almost a decade. Right here it is. So separate data Friday showed a fresh 40-year high inflation rate. The widely followed consumer price index increased 8.6 in May from a year earlier, compared with a month earlier. Inflation gauge rose 1% in a broad advance that topped all estimates. So all these numbers, let me see. Respondents said they expect inflation to rise 5.4% over the next year, up to 5.3 a month earlier, up from 5.3 a month earlier. They expect prices to advance 3.3% over the next 5 to 10 years, the most since 2008, and up 3% in May. So we all know what happened in 2008. That was a housing crash. So it says inflation is expected to rise 5.4 the next year, up from 5.3. So they're still expecting inflation to continue to worsen, right? Inflation rose 8.6% in May, highest since 1981. So we had a new record high. The consumer price index rose 8.6 in May from a year ago, the highest increase since December 1981. Core inflation, excluding food and energy, rose 6. Both were higher than expected. So everything is higher than what they're expected. This is an article, or this is a quote from BlackRock CEO, I believe Apostle Tahar. He had went into this. A few brothers, I think. Yeah. I've heard this before. This is a BlackRock exec saying inflation could last for years, right? You got a lot of, articles or the news or media It's saying the inflation is only going to be temporary, but you've got others, certain people that are specialized in the economy. They're saying it's going to last way longer than what they say it is, right? Um, so I got this article here as well. Now I brought this article out in the previous video, but I brought it back out again because it spoke about situation. Um, which one was it? About hunger, right? Uh, so this is 12 reasons. Let me go back to the title. This is from zerohedge.com. It says 12 nightmarish economic trends that we should expect to see during the second half of 2022. So they say it's going to be way worse than the first. Matter of fact, that's the first sentence. If you thought that economic news was crazy during the first half of 2022, just wait until we get to the second half because it's going to get a lot worse. And gas prices are going to continue to rise. I just saw something saying that the average price of gas was, I believe it was almost $5 or four. It was in the fours. And now we know with gas that's gonna trickle down to multiple things. It's gonna, the truckers aren't gonna be able to deliver a lot of things, and this is just gonna affect a lot of different areas, right? Um, Food prices, right? What I want to go to say. Widespread hunger will almost certainly lead to more civil unrest. This is what I wanted to, right? It says recent events in Sri Lanka give us an indication of what may be coming. Coming where? Coming here, right? Now at the end of camp show or class, Apostle Har was going into what was going on in Sri Lanka, and it started about a month, I believe, 2 months ago or a month ago, about how it's Well, it says it right here. Protests in Sri Lanka have burned down homes belonging to 38 politicians as a crisis-hit country plunged further into chaos, with government ordering troops to shoot on sight. So this is basically Second Ezra 6. What is it? 16. I had this here. Woe to the world. Here it is. Sedition among men. Second Ezra 15. It says, "Woe to the world and them that dwell therein. For the sword and their destruction draweth nigh, and one people shall stand up and fight against another, and swords in their hands. For there shall be sedition among men, and invading one another. They shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the course of their actions shall stand in their power." Let's see that in the picture. Boom. The course of their actions shall stand in their power. This is April. Okay, so this is a few months ago. A little bit over a month. It says Sri Lankan police arrest 45 people and post curfew over protests outside the president's residence. So this isn't even recent. I have a more recent article, but let's go through this a little bit. At least 45 people were arrested and a curfew briefly imposed in most parts of Colombo City after hundreds of protesters gathered outside the residence of Sri Lankan President whoever Rajapaksa, demanding his resignation for failing to address the worst economic crisis in the island nation. So it's getting bad over here. Let's see something more recent. This is May 9th. Violence as protesters take to the streets of Sri Lanka. They just fucking shit up. Look, this is actually the what's the scripture say? It says, with swords on their hands, the course of their action shall stand in their power. Okay? They will reckon shit up there. And what's the cause of it? The cause is police say the island is short. Oh, so you know what I got? So I'm gonna go to my favorite, one of my this is a global protest tracker, and all these, articles and sites I'm going to, I'll leave in the description box. This tracks protests around the world, and it's updated as of June 6th. Right now is June 10th. And if you go down, let's go down to Sri Lanka. It started back in March. The trigger was what? Rapid depreciation of the Sri Lankan rupee, which is their money. soaring prices and widespread shortages of goods. So you know what the answer is going to be? All roads lead to the MOTB. They're going to offer this to the people, and they're gonna take it, right? But first, they have to put them in a situation of desperation where they're gonna be begging for a they're gonna be begging for a solution. It says motivation and anger over the government's economic policies, including the perceived mismanagement of debt. Okay, 26 cabinet ministers resigned as of April 22, 2022. So that's the cause of the situation in Sri Lanka. It's the monetary system. And this article here from Zero Hedge says what you see going on in Sri Lanka is an indication of what can be happening here. Okay, another sign of 2022 being second half of 2022 being worse than worse than the first half. Higher interest rates will be devastating for the housing market in the United States, and that is very troubling news because home sales have already been falling for 3 months in a row. Mind you, this article is from May 20th, okay, which is a few weeks ago. Right now we're in June 10th. What else we got here? I think that's all the articles here, but I want to go into, let's go into Second Ezra 15. I wanted to start up a little above, go into it a little bit. This is Second Ezra 15. You know what? Let me jump down to 5. It says, this is Second Ezra 15 and 5. Behold, saith the Lord, I will bring plagues upon the world, the sword, famine, death, and destruction. All right, and if you look throughout the four corners of the world or the earth and see what's going on, there's turmoil, there's riots, there's troublesome times in every continent on the earth, man, and that's all orchestrated or sanctioned by the Most High. The Most High is allowing sword, famine, death, and destruction to happen, and it's gonna increase as time goes on, because all these things have to happen before the Lord returns. Right? So the Lord returning, all these bad things happening is a big sign. You see? Because it wasn't like the world, if you look around, man, if the world wasn't like how it was 15 years ago. It wasn't like this 15, 20 years ago, or even 5 years ago. I mean, things are escalating fast. Where I'm at, verse 6, for wickedness hath exceedingly polluted the whole earth, and their hurtful works are fulfilled. Therefore saith the Lord, I will hold my tongue no more touching their wickedness, which they profanely commit, neither will I suffer them in those things in which they wickedly exercise themselves. Behold, the innocent and righteous blood crieth unto me, and the souls of the just complain continually. And the righteous blood and the souls of the just complaining continually are the elect. Okay? That's Israel. When they go up to the Most High, they're praying for the downfall of this kingdom, this current kingdom that we're living in right now. Okay. Verse 9, and therefore thus saith the Lord, I will surely avenge them and receive unto me all the innocent blood from among them. Right? Because the Most High is all about vengeance. He's about righteous payback. Okay? And the judgment of Esau has not been fulfilled yet. They have not been judged for all the wickedness that they've been doing since they've been in the power. So we're approaching that judgment also. We're approaching the return of the Lord, and we're approaching the judgment of Esau, which has not been fulfilled as of yet. Verse 10, behold, my people is led as a flock to the slaughter. I will not suffer them now to dwell in the land of Egypt. Okay? Which the land of Egypt is a place of our captivity, which the main place of our captivity is here in North America, right? Like it says in Jeremiah, 16 and 14, right? So the Lord is going to deliver us from not only here in America, but around all the four corners of the earth where we were dispersed. Verse 11, but I will bring them with a mighty hand and stretched out arm and smite Egypt with plagues. You see? So I will bring them with a mighty hand and a stretched out arm. That's the Lord delivering us in what people refer to as UFOs or flying saucers or whatever have you. And the scriptures are referred to as chariots of the Heavenly Father. That's why this deliverance or this salvation is going to be greater than any other. Right? It says, I will smite Egypt with plagues, as before, and will destroy all the land thereof. Because when the Most High is done with this place in America, He's going to allow 200 million missiles. You had Putin just show off one of his missiles, the Satan. Well, you know they got so many Satan missiles, but one of the Satan missiles, he boasted about using one or two to wipe out the entire East Coast and wipe out the entire West Coast. He can wipe out a whole coast with a few missiles. This is the power that we're speaking about, but not to give too much credit to Esau, because that is actually the weapon of the Lord's indignation, to show how much anger he has against Esau and his rulership in his kingdom. He's going to allow such a destructive he's going to allow Esau to be taken out in such a destructive way. It's going to trump any other nation's downfall in history. Right? I will bring them with a mighty hand and stretched out arm and smite Egypt with plagues as before, and I will destroy all the land thereof. Egypt shall mourn, and the foundation of it shall be smitten, and with the plague and punishment that the Most High shall bring upon it. They that till the ground shall mourn, for their seed shall fail through the blasting of hail, with a fearful constellation. All right, so that's the future of Egypt, the modern day Egypt, which is here in America, a total destruction. That's why the scriptures say, Egypt shall be a desolation. It's basically going to be uninhabitable. Only things that are going to inhabit here are desert creatures and wild spirits. Okay, so that's about it. Lord willing, excuse me, Lord willing, you brothers and sisters were edified. Until the next show, shalawam.